appear to have been there to represent Robins.
What I find incredible about this is he's, you know, it's a traditional postman, he's holding a smartphone.
Possibly it's to do with poverty in the 19th century. It was common to refer to destitute children as poor Robins, and lots of churches would put on Robins dinners on Christmas Day for local poor children. But it's changed over the years. So in the 1860s, they had Robins on Christmas cards, and they were depicted as being comic. Then in the 1870s, they get rather sentimental. 1880s, I don't know what happened. They just showed them dead. I don't know what.
This is stunning.
It's been a terrible epidemic.
Look at, I mean, you send that to somebody that really hates, it says, may yours be a joyful Christmas.
Yeah. There's something wrong with the printer, it's meant to be portrait.
Robins on Christmas cards probably represent not postmen but poor children, or Robins. And finally, what should I do if I spill red wine on the tablecloth? So, gentlemen, I'm going to give you a tablecloth, and you've got some wine between you.
Wine, yes, wine, lovely wine.
There we go.
If you think anything's going on the tablecloth, you're sadly mistaken. Merry Christmas.
I've had drinks with you before, and I suspect I'm not mistaken. Okay, so
Pouring the red
do a bit of red on.
A little bit of red on there.
Okay, now what would you do about that? I've gone, oh, my tablecloth.
Oh,
what are you
get
going
some
to do?
white wine. Get some white
Right,
wine.
so
Let me try it at least.
can give it a go, yeah.
I mean, it's a bit unfair to give us white wine and then have a go at us for mentioning it, but...
Okay, yeah, there we go.
It's gone, it's gone.
Yes. So it will dilute the stain, but it contains complex sugars. It's perfectly possible the white wine will discolour the cloth. So you two, you've got a bit of carpet that you've spilled yours on.
I've seen that work though.
Spill a bit of red.
Can I spill it?
Yeah, go on. It's Liberty Hall. There we go. Red on the carpet. Wow, you just went crazy.
You assumed that you were doing just the one experiment, did you, Holly? So you were going to get it right first time out of the gate.
Jason, what are you going to do?
I've got all sorts here, so
Okay,
I
okay,
think there's
yes.
some. Is that soda water?
Yes.
Is it water?
Yes.
Maybe a bit of salt?
Okay, you were doing. Yeah. So, not salt. Salt will absorb the wine initially, but it's also fixative. So unless you manage to get all the salt out, it is possible that what you're actually doing is making the stain permanent.
This is doing a good job.
I'm getting that.
So the tip is blot it.
Can't open the vinegar.
So again, the vinegar, frankly, no better than water and extremely
What's this
expensive.
then?
No better than water.
It's also acidic, so it's going to possibly discolour the
Going
cloth.
through the desk. It's going through the desk. It's the alien.
So the tip is.
Ripley.
The tip is to. Oh no. Well, let's put that fire. That didn't work. No. What you need to do is blot it with kitchen paper.
I was going to take this notebook home.
Well, that sorted that out.
Don't spill your wine. That's the
That's
bottom
the
of
trick.
the story.
But actually, the answer is you blot it with kitchen paper, and all you need is tap water and not sparkling water. Why not sparkling water?
Because it's fizzy.
Because it's really expensive. Very stupidly expensive. What have you done? You've made a mess
Well, nothing.
underneath. Let me see.
How do you get
Yeah.
wine off expensive electrical equipment?
I have to say, Sandy, that's bollocks. Because that doesn't work either.
Well, yes.
When I was a student, we had paper decorations, and then we had brandy on the cake, and the paper caught fire, and then it went across the whole room, and then flaming decorations started on the table, and then someone threw brandy on it to put it out, and it went. And then really, suddenly we realised it was an actual fire. controversial. Any particular brand?
Not wasting white wine, am I right? No.
We just move furniture. That's what we've done. That's the camera right on it. Why is the telly behind the sofa? Don't worry about it.
I tell you what we did one year actually, is spill a bit of red wine, then took one of the dead bodies, made it look like a murder scene.
The boy died because somebody fell on the cage. I remember.
Did somebody fall on the cage?
Yeah, but they were drunk, isn't it? That's why he died.
Can I just say that the bird didn't die, the bird was murdered. I've also got dead budgies in my life. We had two blue budgies, one called Manchester and one called City. And what happened was the door was open and it gone for it, flown out, and it broke its leg. Yeah. So we managed to, my dad with two little matchsticks, managed to make a little splint and put it back in his cage.
This is such rubbish. Made a little split.
Two little split through his legs, right, and then put it back in his cage. But obviously, it couldn't stand on its perch anymore, so we had to just leave it on the bottom of the cage.
In agony.
It was tough, right? It's not whistling, you know, but it was fine. And
They have crutches as well.
don't be ridiculous. One afternoon, my mum came in from work, and it had toppled into its water bowl and drowned. I'm like,
Just a little splint sticking up out the bottom.
Very Merry Christmas to you all. Yes, the only thing worse than spilling red wine is wasting good white wine trying to clean it up. And with that, we come to the end of the show, so let's have a look at the scores. Oh my goodness, it's a Christmas miracle. Everybody came first equal. Jason, Ramesh and Alan. But before we go, I've got one last Christmas present. I absolutely love Christmas singing, so I wonder if there is anyone in the audience who's a member of a choir. Okay, put your hands up. How many of you know We Wish You a Merry Christmas? Okay, so here is my gift to you. The QI Audience Choir, conducted by Neville Creed.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings, sweet tidings to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
episode
fuck
of
off,
our
lah!
openings. Please welcome with open arms the open-eyed Rich Hall. Open-minded Susan Calman.
Oh, my fucking goal! Powinna być sądzi, daj raz mi nie
Opening a can of worms, it's Alan Davis. So without further ado, I declare the show open. Rich goes. That's lovely.
I have to wait for all of that before I can answer?
Yes. Susan goes. Some of the greatest good things in the world. Josh goes. Alan goes. Right, I'd like you to act out the opening scene of the classic film All Together Passionately.
Sorry, what am I trying?
Yes. I mean, I'm happy to do it
Yes.
as long as I can go and talk.
I think you should speak to Josh.
As long as you've got a cushion, I'm fine.
Anybody know? All Together Passionately?
It's
Great
not
film.
ringing any bells.
It is the Italian name, I will tell you, for a very famous film. Tutti insieme appassionatamente.
I'll be honest, if anything, I'm further away from the answer.
Okay, I do this.
Christ.
And I'm twirling around on top of an Austrian mountain.
Oh, Sound of Music!
Sound of Music is the Italian
There's no
name.
Italian phrase for the sound of music.
Apparently that's what they called it, All Together Passionately.
That sounds like a film you would watch on a train.
You watch a lot of films on trains.
Lots of them. You have
Oh
to
yes,
be-
because you don't fly, so
Yes,
you spend your
yes.
life on a
So
train.
you have to be very careful sometimes if you have a film with a bit of
Naughtiness.
naughtiness.
Yeah.
You have to turn it to the window.
Does anybody here cry at movies on planes that you would normally cry at? Like Paul Blart, Mall Cop thing? Once. Not even the movie, sometimes it's a credit card ad. Like, oh my God, she lost her credit. Oh, she got it back. Oh, thank God. So many emotions to handle in one commercial.
Well, here's the thing about Sound of Music. It was so popular in South Korea when it was first released. One theatre owner in Seoul made the film shorter by cutting out all the musical numbers. He could show it more often.
Do you know, I've never seen it.
Oh, Josh!
Oh, really? Never?
You never said that you are 16, going on 17.
Yeah, it's like that, but with a tune. And in 2004, The Sun reportedly saw a leaked document, we don't know if it's true, that in the event of a nuclear bomb going off, the advice is going to be to stay indoors and watch television. And apparently, BBC bunkers will broadcast The Sound of Music for 100 days or until we're all dead.
You're all going to go have seen it. That's when I cash in.
Yes. Do you know, I was once lucky enough to meet Julie Andrews. It's the only time in my entire life I've been completely speechless.
Because she wouldn't shut up.
She just asking me what my favourite things were. It's very annoying.
You like a tie that with string? You do, girl. I bet you do. What's a female deer? Come on. I'm getting a party set. Do you want to see the goat? What's a bee singing? What's up, Julie?
I'll be honest, I understood none of that.
Okay, let's try it. 5 more original movie titles. The top one I can tell you. Please don't touch the old women, an Italian version of a famous film. Is it Cocoon? It's the producers. It's the producers, yes. Because you know the whole thing is about raising money from the old women, which I guess that's the bit they're most focused on. Try the next one. This is the Brazilian title of a famous film, 11 Men and a Secret.
There's 12 angry men, but one of them is transgender.
It is Ocean's 11. That's right, yes. Okay, this one is also Italian, this next one. Don't open that door.
Oh, dust boot.
It's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Right, this next one is Chinese.
I'll be honest, when you say which country it's from, it's from Texas. It's Chinese, aren't it?
Chinese, yes. Here's very yes.
Man with a golden gun.
No, it's Boogie Nights.
Would you like to see my great device? It's still on the surface.
So the French title of Jaws is The Teeth from the Sea.
See?
Try this one, Free Willy. Any better titles?
The device made him famous. I don't know.
Release the penis.
The Chinese title is A Very Powerful Whale Runs to Heaven.
It's like something you get in a fortune cookie.
Bad Santa. Anybody got a better title for Bad Santa?
Good Santa.
Good Santa. The Czech Republic is Santa is a Pervert. Die Hard is based in Germany as Die Slowly. In Greece is Very Hard to Die, and in Norway is Action Skyscraper. And SpongeBob SquarePants was originally going to be SpongeBob Ahoy, but that turned out to be the copyright for the name of a mob. So they couldn't find that. The Lion King's working title was King of the Jungle. Why does that not work as a title, King of the Jungle?
Because
Because,
the lion
yes,
is not
yes.
in the jungle.
In the jungle.
Correct, it does not live in the jungle, so King of the Jungle would be
I've
something
never
else.
seen The Lion King.
Oh, my
You not? No. What's the most original idea in this book?
What year is this?
1831, it was published.
This fella Patrick Matthew, is he by any chance Scottish?
He is, he's a Scottish, or was,
Yes.
a Scottish horticulturist.
Yes.
And what is he famous for?
I think he came up with some of the ideas which Darwin then took on the origin of the species.
Well, you are right and not right in that he did have the original ideas about natural selection and
Yes.
the mechanism for evolution, but Darwin had no idea that Massey had come up with this. So 30 years later, in 1860, this guy is reading a review in Gardner's Chronicle about Darwin's origin of the species, and it said Darwin professes to have discovered the existence of the modus operandi of natural selection, and he looked to complain, saying that he had already written about this, and Darwin wrote back and
Yes.
said, I had no idea, I've never ever read your work.
Oh, come on,
And not only did Massey get there before Darwin, lots of his ideas proved in the end to be more correct. But there are actually three people who are thought to have independently discovered the principle of natural selection as the mechanism for speciation. Matthew Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace, who also comes up with the idea about 5 years before Darwin. Wallace wrote an essay, and Darwin very quickly then wrote on the origin of the species because he wanted to make sure that he got his stuff out before anybody else. Darwin very much emphasised competition between individuals of the same species, and Wallace emphasised environmental pressures, and in fact probably they were both right.
He looks friendlier than the other two, the middle one.
Yeah, he looks nice.
He looks like he looks like he's got into the problem.
Yeah.
The other two would be like, sort it out, Susan. Yeah.
All three of these guys are proponents of natural selection and that we evolve in order to survive.
Yeah.
But they all have hair growing out of their ears.
Sometimes personal grooming can just fall by the wayside. Right, recently I've stopped plucking my toe hair because I just can't do it. I used
You
to.
can't reach, or
No, I used to.
Selfie stick with tweezers in it.
Quite hairy toes, and I used to pluck them for fear of upsetting people. And then I escaped out of the house one day in a pair of sandals. And you've never lived until you felt the wind through the hair in your chin. After that, I've got to hang with social convention. I'm just going to let it go.
So, when Darwin had The Origin of the Species published, he gave the original manuscript to his children to use as scrap drawing paper, and the only surviving pages are illustrated by his children. There's a drawing of a fish with legs carrying an umbrella, there's men riding horses made of vegetables, and they wrote short stories on the paper. The Fairies of the Mountain is one story. Two fairies travel to the sun, where they find that life is adapted to the environment. So I like the idea that they thought, oh, it was different on the sun, they must evolve.
You'd obviously read it before they drew it.
Yes, I guess. Anyway, what did Mr. First think of Mr. Second?
Didn't like him.
What's wrong with this picture?
That's a very unrealistic snake.
Well, no, that wasn't my first thing, but yes, that is a very unrealistic snake.
That here would be difficult to keep control of in damp weather.
Yeah. You should see their hairy toes all over the place.
It was in the very first QI ever.
Don't ask. You need to do it, Adam, because it'll be out.
Yes. So it's very first man, and therefore you wouldn't have
a belly button.
You wouldn't have a belly button. And also to apples, there are no apples mentioned anywhere in the Bible.
Is it for
Anyway, he's not the Mr. First that we are talking about. The first person that we are talking about is Homero Keaton, an American man who claimed to have been the first person at over 500 opening events, and he was known as Mr. First. And his brother Michael very occasionally took his place, and he was known as Mr. Second. But the rivalry between the two was truly
He just turned up at opening.
Yeah. So when he was 13 years old, Homero Keaton, her family friend, who'd been the very first to cross the Brooklyn Bridge when it opened, so that is 1883, and that inspired him one year later, when he was 14, to become the very first American passenger on the Graf Zeppelin. There it is, Graf Zeppelin. Look at that thing. You could fit 3 747s on one of those airships. But he was the very first American passenger to fly the Atlantic in that airship, which took 4.5 days in those days. And then he rose to fame. He did all sorts of things. He set up camp outside the Lincoln Tunnel for 4 days, and he was the first to drive through. He was the first person to buy a ticket for the 8th Avenue subway, first person to skate on the Rockefeller ice rink, first person to drive across the Hudson-Tappan Zee Bridge, and the first person to put a quarter in a New York.
You should never be first for things like that, because the danger aspect, you wait until a lot of people have done it, and then you know it's safe, and then you pop on.
It's so good Neil Armstrong didn't make that speech.
He hates Neil Armstrong.
So actually he said I wouldn't have had the nerves, what he said about Neil Armstrong when he was asked.
I bet Mr. First is an absolute bore at dinner parties.
Yes.
I've been here ages.
Was in 1945 the third Lincoln Tunnel opened, and Mr. First was in the new hall, and so his brother Michael was asked if he would be there in his place. He began to step in more and more regularly, and the people started to give them equal status. And Mr. Second became Mr. First. Terrible tension.
Oh my God.
Terrible tensions between them. Homero became convinced that his brother was trying to steal the limelight. There were offers from Hollywood to make a movie. He wouldn't have it because he didn't want his brother to get people billing. And his very last first was a drive through the newly opened I-595 highway from Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport to the Everglades.
Not one of his classics, though.
But in the last 20 years of his life, the brothers lived 20 minutes apart and they wouldn't speak.
You think one of them would go, I was the first to get back in touch, unlucky.
You say you've done no firsts at all, Susan?
I was the first person ever to get 100% in the Curry's Electrical Superstore exam.
Are you selling white goods?
I was in charge of microwaves and vacuum cleaners with an overall ambit for white goods. I went down to Newcastle for a training course.
Right.
I had to sit an exam in not only the goods itself, but also PMA, positive mental attitude. Because everyone in Curry's had to have a positive mental attitude, and I had a cravat and a badge that said Susan, happy to help. I was the only person to ever get 100%.
George Darley firsts at all?
I once put a whole packet of polos in my mouth.
That way.
I opened it, and so it was just 20 polo. I wasn't like...
When Richard, on your first, if anyone?
I was the first person to Google myself to see if I was still alive.
Were you?
Yeah. If you Google Rich Hall, my name will come up first, and the second is a dormitory at Boston University. But last week, if you went on my Twitter or something, it said Rich Hall was on fire last night. I was in Aylesbury, and I thought it was, but it's actually the dormitory caught fire.
Oh. Just cut out the headlines, a great review.
It's still going on my post.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing. Have you done your first?
No, but someone did send me a thing to a website and it said I died in 1997.
That was the Jonglers.
I was the first person to do stand-up in Stockholm. They had got the old Royal Yacht Britannia and they turned it into a stand-up club. And I went out to complete silence. I mean, not a laugh, just total silence. And I finished with saying, I've been Sally Toksvig, thank you very much, good night. And they went nuts, they went crazy. The audience were going wild.
Is that because you're leaving?
Yeah. I had no idea what was going on. So I went backstage and the organizer was saying, oh, you were so funny, it was very, very funny. I said, but nobody laughed. No, we didn't like to interrupt.
I've got an audience that doesn't like to interrupt or read the poetry.
That's the whole thing about people all these people want to go to Mars.
Yeah, why?
I'll tell you why, just so they can dominate every conversation afterwards.
Oh, it'd be awful. They're going, oh, it's got water. That is the, like, if you went, I'm moving, what's it like? Well, they've got water. That's a bit.
How are they going to habitatize it?
Yeah, appetitize.
Loads of furniture from Habitat.
Why can't they find a planet that has Diet Sprite on it?
Yeah, I would need to plant that Angel Delight.
Oh, have you set fire to Angel Delight? Have we discussed that?
What?
Hot out job. Yes, it's great.
Yes, it's good, isn't it?
You set fire to the powder or when it's
So
made?
what you do, don't do this, okay, because it's very dangerous, but it's fun. So what you do is you get some of the powder and you put a tea light on the floor, and then from a height, sprinkle the powder, and it does a phosphorescence.
Wow.
Kind of, it's marvellous.
I tell you what, tomorrow morning, the supermarket is going to go, Angel Delight suddenly got
Get some more tea lights and some more Angel Delight. Going crazy.
Don't do it. Do not do it. Mr. First hated Mr. Second because when Mr. First was seconded, Mr. Second started coming first. What's the worst thing that can happen when you open something?
Well, if it's the gentleman that pressed the button on the Virgin train from Glasgow to London, it's seeing me on the toilet, which is what happened.
Those doors take so long to open.
Honestly, if you're a gentleman, you could go, oh, God, if you're a lady, just have a second go. The problem is because I'm so short, my legs were swinging.
I love that you felt you needed to explain that to me. We used to take the train to visit my house in California, and it took 5 days to get there. And so it's quite boring for children. So what you used to do is we used to go to the toilet on the train and then flush, and then you could run to the back of the train, and there was a little sort of platform, and you could watch all the toilet paper rushing out across the deck. Marvellous entertainment for children. It was very good.
When did you grow up?
It was a black and white time. What? I was born in 1958.
That is astonishing.
What, that I'm still working?
Josh, just a wee thing for you, sweetie pie. See when a woman talks about her past, don't go, when did you grow up?